I got a second?
Second.
Second, there you go. Call to order. All in favor? All right, good. Call to order. Opening statements. Meetings of the board are open to the public, and all members of the community should feel free to participate. There are two opportunities for the public to speak. The first is the beginning of the meeting for agenda items only, and the second is at the end of the meeting for other items. Any individual desiring to speak shall give his or her name, address, and the group, if any, that is represented. The presentation shall be as brief as possible, but no more than 3 minutes per individual. There are certain matters that may be brought before the board that cannot be immediately addressed in public. Such matters may be referred by the president to a board committee and/or to the superintendent for consideration and/or resolution. The board vests in its president or other presiding officer authority to terminate the remarks of any individual if he or she deems it in the best interest of those present to do so. Do we need roll call? We do roll call, right? Yeah. All right, can we stand for flag salute, please? All right, well, thank you for everyone coming tonight. We have one presentation. So we have Dr. Tim Tehan, former New Jersey school board or former school district superintendent. Been around a long time, worked for the school board down in Trenton. So I think Dr. Tehan has in your packet, you should have the goal setting, charting path to student success, which is sort of good dovetails with what Dr. Casco, when we have a board retreat coming up in next month, that this would be some stuff. And if you don't know, there's a lot of things the New Jersey school boards can do for school districts. So Dr. Tehan is from down there, and he could talk on that and any other things that the board might have questions on. But you cover how many districts?
58.
Right, a lot.
And now I think I'm going to be covering Ocean too, so that's another
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, wow.
28. So
And you still answer your phone.
I'll still answer my phone.
And he answers it, but Larry, very late at night, and I think Sarika, when you were sending the thing, I was like, he quickly recompiled the results really fast, which was great, so appreciate that. And if anyone goes to the school board show in October, you would see Dr. Tehan and the whole group down in Atlantic City and all the other services that the NJSBA offers. So the floor is yours, sir.
There's a lot of training that goes on in Atlantic City. It's not just
Right, similar to when we were talking about with committees. Hey, if you're on a committee, show up, be there on time, know what you're going to talk about. Of course, we're all 9 unpaid volunteers, but yeah. I mean, a lot of times we do it, but it's more like, I guess you could say, documenting it better. Like,
I remember this presentation last year.
we didn't do it last year. So I know, like,
Because we didn't have a board retreat last year.
Anthony spearheaded communications last year. I think the board, the majority of the board said, okay, we really need to improve this. And I can tell you, sitting here a long time, a couple of times we've had board goals and we've had district goals. The problem, and as you showed it very succinctly, is sometimes the district goal, all of a sudden you start going into, no, that's a district goal, no, that's a district goal. And obviously superintendent evaluation and the policy manual. So we did the policy manual, the entire thing last year. We bounced Strauss Esme, and we picked up New Jersey school boards to do it. But we went through 100 and I don't know how many policies we have, 100 and something. There's a lot of them. And that took a lot of time, but that was a board goal and it was accomplished. We didn't have it, I guess, documented like Chris and Allison when they were in leadership last year. We didn't document it, but doesn't mean we didn't do it. So it's something, I guess, as a board as a whole, we get to decide if we want to have district goals or board goals. Obviously, we're always going to have, I think this year we have 5 district goals, so.
Yeah,
But-
always keep it 3 to 5. No more
Yeah.
than 5. And then even with the board goals, a lot of boards will do a board self-evaluation. If that's something that you're thinking of doing, and they basically a reflection piece, it's the same thing superintendent does within his evaluation when he starts to put all that documentation in there. It's the same thing our teachers do with their summative evaluations. They're putting in documentation to show and reflect on their progress. Boards do the same thing through a board self-evaluation. They reflect on, hey, what are we doing well? What am I doing well as an individual? What are we doing well as a team? If you're going to go that route, the first thing that has to happen is your board president has to go in first and indicate whether you had board goals or not. And if you did, actually type them in. And then once he does that and hits submit, then they can notify the rest of the board, and the rest of the board then can go in and do their part, that self-evaluation. Some boards don't do it that I would say, formal. They do it more, they'll have a conversation and reflection period. That's fine too. It's just a matter of you want to actually reflect on what's working and what's not, and what you want your goals to be as you move forward.
Any other questions? We're an easy board, see?
There you go. The last one was just a thank you. I mean, you guys, you said it before, you're paid, unpaid volunteers.
Right, we're going to fire ourselves when we do the self-evaluation.
You're all getting your raises here. I don't know if superintendent told you that, it's 100%.
Getting double. We're actually getting double this year. Yes.
So, but you don't hear it enough, usually you hear, it's great, you only have one person here, but, usually when people come out to a board meeting, they're here for a reason, because they're unhappy with something. They're not here to say, hey, thank you for doing what you do. So, you don't hear it enough, so thank you for doing it, because, it is an important job, even though it's not paid.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Dr. Tian. See you in October.
You're only clapping because it was quick.
Roger that.
All right. So that'll bring us to,
Excuse me, before we jump into business as usual for agenda items this week, I want to address something that happened in the last meeting.
that would be old business.
It's not business. It actually has to do with decorum. It's not business. So, in
Is it-
general.
Hold on a second, is that good or
We're
not?
not, I mean, is there a motion you're making? You can address it, but it's not like public discussion yet. You can do it.
It's not a discussion. So basically,
Right, but there's, the Roberts rules require like a specific procedure. So
Okay.
Individual members, right now Pete's the chair.
Right.
Okay.
Unless he's ceding the floor to you, it'd be new business is when you have the opportunity to present anything, whether it's a comment about the meeting or a motion or anything else. But we're not at that point yet. It's under.
Yeah, just hold it.
chairs.
We'll get there.
Something
We'll
you
get there,
can't
new
do if it's
business.
not there.
Yeah. So we don't have students. We do have a superintendent. Do you have a report?
Yeah, brief one. So I just wanted to congratulate, obviously last week was our last week of the school year. A lot of wonderful milestones and events. I saw the 3rd grade clap out and was at the 6th grade breakfast and the middle school graduation and the high school commencement. All the ceremonies and events were terrific, and I just wanted to congratulate all those students and wish them the best of luck as they move on to their new schools and their new environments, et cetera. Reflecting back on this school year, I think it was, of course, we will begin the process now. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of grace for the next week to catch our breath, to enjoy the 4th of July, the 250th 4th of July of our country. And then we're going to begin the process of really digging into our data. We're going to look at our strategic plan survey. We put out a Parent Square communication survey. Of course, we're going to get in our standardized test results in the latter part of the summer. And all of those data sets, both qualitative and quantitative, will tell the tale, really, in terms of how we really did this year, as reflected in the data. I think all in all, just sort of anecdotally, I think it was a good year. I think it was a rigorous year, right? I mean, I think both the previous board and the newly constituted one in January led through some turbulent times. We had an unsettled contract, which was, I think we as a community navigated it well. I think our staff through that showed great professionalism, and we navigated a tough budget cycle. I really appreciated the presentation, Tim, because being reflective sort of on myself as a superintendent, I do think that one area where I can improve is staying focused on the goals, right? Because I, like the board, like all of us, can easily lose our moorings to those goals by the things, that come and go and onto our plate. So I really appreciated the idea of these updates. So I think that that's one way that I, as the superintendent, and the board can stay really focused on the goals, is that we're doing periodic updates to the board and to the community. So I appreciated that. So we're going to, obviously, we talked about the board retreat. I'm thrilled that we're doing it for the first time in several years, and front-loading the summer with it as well, right? Because typically what we've done, and we will still probably approve them in August, but to some extent, front-loading the summer with them, it gives the administrative team our priorities, and we really have the balance of the summer to really start to think about how are we going to execute these plans, these goals. So I'm looking forward to that, and that was by design that we invited Tim in, just to sort of as a precursor to that retreat. So I want to thank the board. You've soldiered up, and done a great job and through some turbulent waters, and we steered this district through it. And like I've said before, we're entering into next school year looking very much like we have in the past from a programmatic standpoint. And I think in this day and age, with the financial challenges we have, that's a tremendous accomplishment. And I hope all of you, all 9 of you, take an opportunity to just, to rest upon your laurels, but for a couple of days, and be proud of what you've done. So thank you, and that is my report, Mr. President.
Any questions for Dr. Cascone? I see none. HIB report, as submitted.
As presented by our anti-bullying coordinator, Dr. Lamoglia, in closed executive session.
Thank you, sir. Any committee reports? I know we
didn't have meetings.
Yeah, we didn't meet. Good. Questions, comments from public on action items only? I see none. Action items. So we'll be pulling items number 4, number 110, number 4, it's actually 4, yeah.
The numbers changed.
Yeah, exactly, I saw them, yeah. You tried to trick me in there, but I wasn't getting onto it. 110 and then 112 to 114. So we'll be voting on items 1 through 3, items 5 through 109, then 111, and 115. Do we get a motion?
Move.
A second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Reddy?
Yes.
Mr. Casilla?
Yes.
Dr. Kalar?
Yes.
Mr. Levechi?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Ms. Lamb?
Yes.
Mrs. Manning?
Yes.
Yeah, I know who it is, yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
So you've met?
Yes.
Okay. There's like a bogey.
A new business we could do, no. I did have one question, I meant to, sorry to ask. It's number 88, how we have Colliers as a engineering and design services. Is that a backup to Spiesel? Is that, I know we always used to list them, right?
Yeah, so interestingly, when we were exploring that road project, we realized that we
civil.
actually did not have an engineer of record.
We used to use T&M sometimes. We would
T&M,
steal
right.
from the town.
Exactly. And so Spiesel can, they contract with architects, I'm sorry, with engineers, but they're not an engineering firm per se. So it was at that time that we said, hey, we should probably have an engineer of record just in case, and they've been it since then.
Gotcha.
We
Thank
haven't
you.
had to use them very much.
No.
But they're on in case we do.
I mean, an old business or a new business, we should definitely still look into a little cutout on Rogie Field, but that's something else. All right, so item 4, I'll just read that one since I know Mr. Keller's been here a long time. Good people. So item 4, acceptance for retirement, science teacher, Holmdel High School. Whereas Mr. Phil Keller has served the Holmdel Township Public Schools with distinction since September 1st, 1994, and whereas Mr. Keller has faithfully executed his duties with skill and competency, and whereas Mr. Keller has earned the respect of his colleagues and community residents, and whereas Mr. Keller has submitted a letter announcing his retirement from the Holmdel Township School District effective July 1st, 2026, Now therefore be it resolved that the Holmdel Township Board of Education accepts Mr. Keller's retirement with deep gratitude for Mr. Keller's dedication, loyalty, and outstanding services performed, and further extend to Mr. Keller his best wishes for a happy and healthy retirement. So Mr. Kelly's been here a very, very long time, a high school teacher. If anyone doesn't know him, I was lucky enough that he taught both of my boys. Excellent teacher, and he cared to the final day. I remember a funny story years ago. My son was starting a school ski trip, and a whole bunch of kids were in his AP course or his honors physics class. And to say he was annoyed that like 15 people were missing the class, he's like reading all the kids' names: Jack Powers, Mr. Reddy, Mr. The whole deal. And the guy literally has been here so many years and such an excellent teacher. It's a huge loss for Alicia Colleen and the science department. So wish him well. And I guess can we get a motion from Mr. Keller?
Move.
Roll call.
Mr. Reddy?
Yes, thank you. Enjoy retirement.
Mrs. DeSillo?
Thank you. Enjoy retirement.
Dr. Calor?
Yes, thank you very much.
Mr. Lavecchi?
Yes, thank you. Congratulations.
Mrs. Lepresti?
Yes, thank you. Enjoy retirement.
Mr. Kim?
Yes, thank you. Enjoy retirement.
Ms. Lamb?
Thank you. Enjoy retirement.
Mrs. Manning?
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. Ray, you want to do number 110? HFEE.
Approval of HFEE Charitable Installment Payment Agreement. Resolved, approval of the HFEE Charitable Installment Payment Agreement for the payment of $35,741.30 from 2020 to 2021. HFEE monetary gift on file in the business office.
Thank you, Ray. Can we have a motion?
Move.
Roll call.
Mr. Reddy?
Yes, thank you very much.
Mrs. DeSillo?
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Calor?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Lavecchi?
Yes, thank you very much.
Mrs. Lepresti?
Yes, thank you for your support.
Mr. Kim?
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Lamb?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Manning?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Joanne, could you do 112?
Sure.
Please.
Acceptance of monetary donation from ExxonMobil Education Alliance Program for Village School. Resolved that the board accept with gratitude a monetary donation from ExxonMobil Education Alliance Program for Village School in the amount of $2,500 to enhance educational opportunities and resources for village students. Act 20-00-100-600-01-00-00-080.
Thank you, Joanne. Can we get a motion?
Move.
Roll call.
Mr. Reddy?
Yes, I think this used to be $1,000, so I know this is an annual thing that we get every year, so. Yeah, this is, so appreciate that's $2,500. Thank you.
Mrs. DeSillo?
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Calor?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Lavecchi?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Lepresti?
Yes, thanks for your continued support.
Mr. Kim?
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Lamb?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Manning?
Yes, thank you.
Anthony, could you do number 13? 113?
Sure. Acceptance of non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA for Village School. Resolved that the board accept with gratitude a non-monetary donation from the Village School PSA of a swing set to be installed on the grounds of Village School with costs not to exceed $42,688.48.
Move.
Second.
Second.
Scott, is this, I know we have 4 total, right? So we have one on the front by your board office, one over by the back, and then one in the back of the corner, then one in the atrium. This a new, is this going to be a fifth one?
No.
So, so this is, and Board Member Manning brought up a
We
good
already
question.
put this
She
one
said,
in.
geez, we have some other, playgrounds in the district that probably could use some tender loving care, and she's not wrong. So this is an additional fixture to that one that was done in the beginning of this year. Right. It's through the PSA. We were able to partially subsidize that in the enterprise fund because of the fact that that particular playground is utilized by our preschool program, so we can justify statutorily through the regs the use of that money. It certainly doesn't prevent any of the other, the Indian Hill PLG from doing the same, although they wouldn't have the benefit of the enterprise fund. But that's the explanation. It's something they wanted to put on the initial project, but did not have the funds to do that.
And I can say this one, so the other three are basically, anyone can access them. This is the one that's in the middle that you literally have to come through the school, go through a gate. And that one for years was condemned. So it sat there condemned, kids couldn't use it. Obviously, kids are like, why can't we use this playground? So this is sort of like the rectifying that situation for so many years. So now we'll have a good playground for the next 20 years, I guess.
I do need to correct this motion. This is a monetary donation.
So Pete, say,
It says non-monetary.
Right.
I know
Oh.
it says it's
say
wrong.
I move to amend the motion
Okay,
to
we,
reflect that it's a monetary
right.
donation.
We
because it's a swing
removed
set, so
to amend,
We're
yeah.
paying,
You need a
we're,
second.
Yeah.
we're,
Not to exceed.
we're buying it, installing it. They're just
So Deb,
donating.
I'll make a motion to amend it to a monetary donation. Could we get a second for that?
Move and second, something,
Thank
I don't know, whatever you gotta do.
Good catch, Deb. Then roll call?
Mr. Reddy?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. DeCillo?
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Calor?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Lepecci?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Lopresti?
Yes, thanks.
Mr. Kim?
Yes, thank you.
Glad I pulled up my Robert.
Miss Lamb?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Manning?
Yes, thank you.
Allison, you want to do 114?
Sure. Acceptance of a non-monetary donation from the Holmdel High School Parent-Teacher-Student Organization for Holmdel High School. Resolved that the board accept with gratitude a non-monetary donation from the Holmdel High School PTSO in the form of a digital Hall of Fame display system, furniture for the high school entry area vestibule, and lost and found storage units.
Move.
Second. So this one is, if there was one thing, if and when I ever leave the board, if there's one thing I think, and I've mentioned it years past, we don't have a Hall of Fame in this district. Since 1972, we've been here. If you walk in the hallways, you can just go pick up plaques off the table, and if you want to steal a track and field one from the 1980s, nothing's really locked down. To me, this almost could be the first, foray for the administration. I mean, in my mind, I was like, I'd love for this to be a district goal, but obviously we all speak as one group. I think it's lacking of how much this district has done educationally and athletically. It's not all about sports. There's so much, so many smart people have attended this school, but this would be a great, I guess, jumping off point possibly. And I know we've talked about it at previous boards, you need a committee, and then how do you identify that committee? I mean, it's definitely not a simple lift. I know the old AD before he left, this was sort of on his radar, but more from an athletic Hall of Fame. But I think having a Hall of Fame for this district is definitely a missing piece that, thankfully to the PTSO, that's just,
I was in Millstone at a travel basketball game. They had one, and they had.
They do.
It wasn't just sports. It was all a bunch of different
Yeah.
people. And I was thinking, it makes you proud to be where you're from, right? Because all these famous people, and people don't even realize. So I think that's really cool.
and that's who
idea.
created this district. That's
Yeah.
why this district is who they are. You hear about, Bob Rogie, in the Rogie Field, the javelin, world record holder, and, so many other, amazing people. So.
I mean, I don't know really the procedure that goes into that per se to kind of conduct that that group or committee and such, but it sounds like it should be something of a working with another nonprofit, like let's just say an HFEE or of that example, to help with that, because I think there's also a lot of value in being able to, quite frankly, raise money for that as well, right? Especially people that are going to be memorialized by this and, ceremonially and so on. There's a lot of different opportunity here, but to make it really, really stand out, and obviously, we don't have the discretionary funds just to create that as well. So I think that would probably be important.
I remember years ago when we did the referendum, if you know that by the SATS area into the SATS gym, you have that hallway. we added that hallway, and one of the thoughts was the old superintendent was like, oh, that could be a potential Hall of Fame just because there's nothing in it. It's empty. Because right now we have stuff, outside the theater. We have stuff outside the gym. We have stuff down by the AD's office. Stuff is all over that it definitely would be a good thing. And, I don't think it's a small lift by any stretch.
I mean, the thought of this is also, I believe, right, that it's going to be interactive so that you could hit something.
Correct.
And
Yep.
whether it's a sport and you want to see who's holding, lacrosse records or whatever, but, I think, I like to think, we have to have people that have won some pretty big awards academically in the science fields,
Yep.
things like that. And I think the Rhodes Scholar that, these are things that I think, from sports to, it's a nice way to, and yet there isn't enough. Part of this conversation came out from some parents wanting their child's name up on banners in the gym. And it was like, we can't have banners for everything. And as, in my family, we have somebody that holds not only the record, but so Jack, he holds not only our record, but he holds the state record and blew the state record out for lacrosse. But he's not anywhere, and nor should he be. But this is where he could be, right? He's a state record holder. So I think that's nice that we'll be able to really show off so much more when it's this digital interactive thing, and whether or not it's for theater, we can see who's gone on in one Broadway, and also a way to maybe connect some of these people, because Greg has talked about trying to connect some of our alumni out and doing a day in the life, almost like an updated career day for here at the high school. And how do we connect? And we're doing that already with our new something in the healthcare sciences, having mentors over at Bayshore. Yeah. That was new this year, right? So utilizing that to, hey, maybe I can make a connection through that digital board. I think it's going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we just circle back to item 110, agenda item 110 for a second? So, sorry? The HFEE charitable installment payment agreement. So when I looked at this, I was curious, and then Brittany did ask the question, and Dr. Cascone did provide clarity on this, that, this was a gift from the 2020 and 2021 year that they had pledged this gift. And I think it was because we didn't invoice them at the time, why it didn't ultimately come through, and now it's actually an installment payment because they no longer have that lump sum. But just kind of to tie it back in conjunction with last year, the $600,000 in courtesy busing that we were wondering why it was so held up before, that we didn't get it from the TC, and their reasoning was that they were never invoiced. So this is not, Deb, I know you weren't even in those seats some of the previous years, in the earlier example of this installment payment, but is there a process? Because I'm just noticing that both were quite delayed because the district failed to invoice, and given the challenges that we have in the budget, failure to invoice seems to me should not be a reason that we don't receive our pledges.
I can't, it was COVID 2021, so
Yeah.
maybe
No,
but now at the end of the year, we do, that was just a once,
I'm just
every
curious
year
of the
they make
process,
donations.
I'm just curious if there was
I didn't think that for the
busing?
township that we were required to invoice. He
Right,
paid,
so-
I did not invoice him, and he paid.
Because when I asked about it at one point, I specifically asked if we'd received the money. It came up at one point, and I asked if we received the $600,000, and the township's response was, no, they never invoiced us. They specifically said that. So I'm just curious, why the invoicing was an issue, more than once. I'm just curious about that. I know you weren't even here, right?
With the township, I wasn't aware I was required to invoice. Mm-hmm. They were to make a payment in August, and I forget the second month, and I inquired when that August was late, and they failed to pass something on their side, because later they presented
I'm
some
just curious if there
resolution.
was something in our processes that doesn't make it automatic, or reminders, whatever it is, because we can't have money falling through the cracks. I'm not saying, if we didn't realize what the protocol was. So, yeah.
Don't worry.
And to clarify, you didn't actually have to invoice even thereafter to get the money.
I don't recall doing an invoice now.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it happened years ago. I mean, in terms of another incident when there was a shared service agreement between Rogie Field when they built a turf field. People said they were going to donate money or raise all this money. It never happened. And then at the end of the day, some people remember from a long time ago that we never got paid and the district had to pay for it. It was just a whole complete mess of like, okay. That's why some people have sometimes hesitance of doing sometimes of these shared service agreements, but I don't think it was negligence. I think it was just something that was missed. But obviously it was a very heavy dollar value that was missed.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's blaming you, Deb,
No, not at
right?
all, no.
Nobody, like, this
No.
is just, hey, this is a process, right? We're
Yeah.
leaving cash out
Yeah,
there.
I'm just
trying to
questioning the
understand
process, that's all.
We,
that's all.
we,
Yeah.
we have a process, the invoice is already being prepared for what they pledged for 25, 26, and
Thank you.
we're on it.
Thank you.
We still need to do the vote for 114.
Correct.
Oh, we didn't? Okay.
So we moved it, right?
We moved it. We did
So
the
just
motion?
roll call
Just
on
roll
it.
call.
Roll call?
Mr. Reddy?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. DeSillo?
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Couillard?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Lavecchi?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. LaPresti? Mr. Kim?
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Lamb?
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Manning?
Yes, thank you.
All right, old business. Joanna, that's yours. Or I guess it's old or new, but
I'm not sure if this is old or new, but,
we'll take it.
because I don't know if it's been brought up before or if this is new business, but recently, the board was asked to consider adopting a formal code of civility or civility resolution to establish clear expectations for respectful interactions among parents, community members, staff, administrators, students, and board members. This follows increased reports of disregard for boundaries and inappropriate disrespectful interactions by community members towards district staff. So I just wanted to address an example during the June 17th meeting from last week. So following Dr. Cascone's comment on the return of test preparation, I began to speak when I was forcefully interrupted by President Reddy, who declared that he would speak first. We are all unpaid volunteers who devote our time and effort to serving our district. Disagreement on topics is acceptable. Disrespect is not. Speaking to a fellow board member or anyone in that manner is inappropriate. The assertion of authority over a peer was heavy-handed and neither appropriate or necessary, particularly towards someone whose support you sought and received in your election as board president. Maybe because it was so unprovoked or unexpected, but it was also disappointing that no one addressed the exchange at the time, including me. The incident occurred at the meeting last week, and there has been no acknowledgement. Leadership cannot effectively or credibly enforce standards of conduct or establish boundaries without adhering to them. This incident underscores why a civility policy is needed and why it must apply equally to everyone, especially board leadership, which is expected to set the tone and cultivate a respectful culture across the district. President Reddy's outburst that evening is precisely the kind of behavior this policy is intended to address, and for that reason, I would fully support its adoption. So that's just a
Thank you.
statement.
I agree with you. Agree with you wholeheartedly. If I upset you, my apologies. It wasn't meant to be that. But being board president, I do have the gavel, and if I want to speak first, I'm allowed to do that. So in that instance, I did that. So if I upset you, my bad, and I apologize. But I do agree with, I know HTEA President Patty DeCero had brought up that same policy, and I agree with you, because as we've all seen in different instances, we want that as a policy out there. It could be hard to manage a little bit, but I'm wholeheartedly agreed that we should have something in place because it, A, protects us, and we can point to it if all of a sudden someone was out of line or things like this. So thank you for bringing up to our attention. I think Dr. Cascone and I talked about it last week. That's something that we could at least flip to the policy committee or bring it up. But I think there are policies out there that I think.
I'm surprised you don't have one already.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I think that's something we can adopt, pass the first reading, a second reading. There's no reason we shouldn't have one. At least that's my opinion. I mean, if anyone else wants to weigh in, please do, but I think it's a good thing to have, so.
Thank you.
I agree, as a superintendent, for sure. I think it would be reassuring to certainly to our staff members. It's interesting, we have rules and regulations for staff, we have rules and regulations for students, but we don't have any rules or regulations for parents, right? And it's not to say that, there's going to be heavy teeth in them, sharp teeth in them, but just to know that it's something that we can refer to, I think is really important, and I think our staff would greatly appreciate that, so.
I was joking with if you go to any high school sports games, a code of conduct. Mr. Baranowski, every game, the coaches coach, the kids play, and the parents cheer. And basically everyone should adhere to the same things. So, thanks for bringing it up. Old business, or I don't know if it's old business, but I know Brittany brought up some questions, and I wasn't going to go through all of them, but I think they were all excellent questions. The couple I was going to just touch on, just for history, my thought was, we've always had years ago we went on a field trip, superintendent, a couple of board members, athletic director. I think we went down to Collinswood, who's a very good Group 2 school like ourselves. They would win the ShopRite Cup that used to be like best of Group 2 schools with all these different things. And one thing that we realized as a district that we didn't have was a weight training program. And a bunch of years ago we put it in place, and we used Powerhouse, I think is the name of the company. And it's done great results. Every team has the opportunity. Like, we're about to go into the fall, so the I guess winter team will be they have, I guess the ability, they're first to get the weight room, because the fall team is obviously doing their practices and everything else. But it's shown great results that we've, since we've had this program. And then the other one was the athletic trainer. So we used to have Dave Katz, I forget the gentleman's name this year. He's the new Kyle. So we've been really lucky. So for a couple of years, we had Dave Katz. We had a guy, Jeff, before him for 3 or 4 years. The kids loved him, girls and boys. Before, at 2:30, his day begins, where you'll see his room filled with kids getting therapy and different work on them, saving parents thousands of dollars, getting kids back on the field. Me, as one board member, I would love for this to be a position to somehow be a paid position within the district. But obviously, in today's financial world, that's a really hard one. But it pays for itself time and time again. The issue that we have is Dave Katz is now the Middletown athletic trainer. We lost him to Middletown. Jeff, who was here 3 years before Dave, is the Freehold School District trainer. So we've had 2 great guys, but unfortunately we lost both of them because they were subcontracts. So now we have Kyle, so hopefully Kyle stays a while, but we've been very lucky that, we've had, 2 really good ones, and the third one, this is his first year. So, that's one of the reasons why, and it's, and you look, our sports programs are so successful. This is one of the reasons.
Yeah, and it goes into the broader conversation I've had, right, with multiple people, that I'd love to have a presentation on our athletics department.
Yes.
Right? How many sports programs we have, what's the spend, who buys uniforms, who has what equipment, right? And I'm not doing it to dig anybody. Like, I just think it'd be great for the community to know how much we offer, what we do, what we spend where, right? It is a part of the budget too, right? So I've voiced that, right?
I think we should do it again. We did it about 3 years ago, I think, when Michael Casal was just on board. And exactly that. What programs are in SATs? Which ones are in the high school? How many boys? How many girls? How many of JV? Why do we only have freshman soccer, but we don't? And just the ones we have openings and all these different things.
Yeah,
and,
number of kids.
And even our
everything.
uniform policy. Because it used to be, and we've actually, as a board, we amended it, where we found out, okay, the football program should not be the same as the golf team. Because the football program destroys their uniforms. The baseball team sort of destroys their uniforms. Where the golf team, they can wear the uniform for 5 years. The football team, and I think we've adjusted a policy that shows, okay, football is every 2 years or whatever it is, just to feel like, the right way to do it.
Yeah, and it's a nice way to look ahead too, right? I mean, I think we're going to have to get more creative with the budgets, right? And what we are going to pay for and what we're not going to pay for. And maybe there are some things that add up that we can keep most things for everybody, but everybody gives a little bit or something, right? I don't know. I think there's a lot there from a really positive
now,
thing, right?
When you see so many schools that are going for pay to play, you could see this.
I got to say, we pay a lot. Like, I mean, not just even the board. I mean, as parents, we still pay a lot. Like,
agreed. But that's what I mean. I want the whole conversation
as part of that,
who pays what,
I know.
right?
I'm just saying.
I don't even know.
Like helmets, like the only helmets that we pay for are football helmets, which I questioned quite some time ago. And I don't know if you remember, but and it was like, well, because
pay for them, meaning we should or shouldn't pay for them.
I questioned why we pay for
certain
one
sports,
sport and not the others. That was
right.
my question.
You don't pay for a lacrosse helmet,
right.
but you're going to pay for a football helmet.
Right, and it was, well, football helmets, because of the type of, for concussion and this and that, they're like $800 a piece versus the $200 lacrosse
And you can't just
helmet.
share
Although
them
it's
amongst
terrifying
people.
what can happen to lacrosse kids, right? Getting nailed in the back. I mean, I just read a terrible article
There
about
was a
somebody
player
dying.
who passed away, maybe, it's 2 this year. 2 kids died this year. They took shots right behind the neck. And the lacrosse helmets, they're designs, they're stupid. The whole back of your neck is exposed.
It's wide open.
They
Well, that's the Q collar now, right?
Yeah, the Q collars, my son has one, it's $200, and he grows out of it.
Yeah.
But they make it to look cool, but what about the safety? It's so, the fact that we can, provide all these things, and I wanted to make a broader point, and you brought this up, we do so much stuff outside the academics that the school is asked to kind of provide, right? I think Dr. Colère and Mr. Lebecci did the school lunch thing, right, a couple years, and really dug into that. The athletic training, the nutrition class, I think we're offering a lot of things that I think some of the community doesn't even know we do, and it's educating their kids on things that they should know.
Spotlighting it, right?
And quite frankly, yes, I 100% agree with you, Brittany and Ray. I personally think that, from last year in the communications role, right, that's certainly something that I think can be given to the community in some type of letter, however you want to frame it, newsletter type of thing, because once again, how many people are actually on the meeting right now? So if we did that presentation right now, those 5 people are going to be the only people that know about it.
Well, I meant at least selfishly for myself to ask questions.
No, sure.
but,
No, 100%. But I think also in conjunction with that has to go out because, hey, you know what? I'm not doing anything right now. Let me read what this has to do about, because I've always was curious about the sports. They have to have that to be able to consume at their own timeline, right? So if we can start putting those things out periodically, major subjects once a quarter, once every month, or something of that nature.
What if we did a quarterly highlight of some type of program? So we could do, and that could be one of our board goals, is that as a board, we say, like, this quarter, we're going to highlight, and maybe it's athletics for one of them, and then maybe it's theater, and like what's happening in the, the arts.
It kind of
like the
ties
VPA.
into the tour we did too, right? Like all the amazing things that
Yeah.
we have that a lot of us didn't even realize are there, right? We're re-highlighting them to the community,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
So I like it.
Can I ask Dr. Cascone, because I know I've brought it up before, and obviously we had a lot of things going on this year, but can we, whether it's either the summer or the very beginning of the year, it would be great to have the athletic director come up here and talk to us, and even, you're going to talk about the booster clubs that some sports have, some don't. I'm pretty sure they actually all have them. I don't know of one sport that doesn't have a booster program, and that's where the softball team is buying a batting pitching machine. Baseball team did that last year, and it's where they're, helping all the teams get whatever they need, and then even like, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
interrupt you.
No, I just think it would be very helpful to go over it in terms of just so everyone could see what we're at. And
I think another great idea would potentially be, we've been talking about doing advertising in the school and in different spots that we could have local businesses or non-local businesses pay for advertising spaces. I mean, the most professional sports actually have a sponsor on their jerseys or piece of equipment. I mean, we can start taking some, maybe we have a company in, and I didn't come up with this idea myself, but maybe we could have a company sponsor the helmets for the football team next year, or and put a logo on there with it. These are things that companies are willing to do, and it's great exposure for them to be lining up to do it. So we need to really start thinking that. I think should be a district goal where we're figuring out different ways to bring in revenue.
Yeah, creative ways.
Yes.
No, the jersey thing is great because I think we were kids. It was like Joe's Pizzeria sponsored your little league baseball team, right? And you wore it everywhere, like it was part of, right?
you go to Phillips Field, it's all in the outfield. There's all signs for everything like that. I think it's great. And Anthony, I mean, I don't know if you wanted to talk about the since you've been spearheading at the weight room. I mean, that's almost like a similar.
So, I'll have a little bit more to report next month, but we are going to have a beautiful weight room that's going to be created for the students, and we're really excited. We were able to put together a substantial amount of money. I believe we hit about $70,000 that we raised to redo this room.
Ken sent some photos today of the floor going down, and it looks beautiful so far.
It's
very time consuming, but it's looking good.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and I'm really excited to do a ribbon cutting for that and have all the wonderful people that donated and helped to launch this or christen the weight room, so to speak, because it's going to be utilized for these kids years to come. I think they're going to be excited to be in there now, right? And want to be there more because that atmosphere is just going to get them, hey, look at this, look what we have, look at our facility, we're proud of it, and people will be lining up. We might have to start taking reservations for it. So
what's interesting is probably the one area that we really haven't touched over the past decade for sure. I mean, we did the HFE, did the upstairs.
And once again,
No,
a substantial,
rowing, cardio room.
once again, a very substantial percentage of those monies raised were from businesses that
That are
wanted to
involved.
be involved. So
Makes sense.
just goes to show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that.
I have a question. When we were touring this place, we saw many amazing facilities, and Dr. Cascone and I talked about the recording studio, the music recording studio. It's a wonderful studio actually, and I was wondering if we can rent it out, just like we rent out our multipurpose hall for extra income, because I'm sure it's not used all the time.
I guess you can. I know the first thing I think of, just like the football thing. Okay, I just invested $1.8 million. I'm going to watch strangers or residents destroy it. I think of how much money
we
is
can
in
ask
it.
them
is
to
in
pay
it.
insurance. I mean, we can really charge
But you know
them,
what I mean? Yeah,
whatever
I mean,
you
it's
need
something
to do.
consider, but that's the first thing I think. I mean, that's
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair cautionary word because, sure, the insurance will cover it, but if they come in and they use our TV studio or a music studio and they damage the equipment, our kids need to be in there on Monday doing the work, right? So it may take months before we actually get the equipment back. So I think it is something to consider. I did start promoting, the facilities usage. That was just really in my newsletter, but we can definitely promote that more externally for parties that may want to use it. But I do think we have to be mindful of, the kind of wear and tear or damage that our facilities are taking, and weigh that with whatever revenue we're bringing in. But yeah, I mean, certainly we can expand that.
Regarding the facilities and the resources that we have, the tour that you gave the board members was amazing, and I had zero idea that most of what you showed us even existed here. So, I mean, I would imagine, and we talked about it at the time, we're like, wouldn't it be great if we put it out there to parents ahead of time, because we do lose plenty of students to the magnet schools, and a lot of times it's because they feel like they're getting that much higher quality education or arts or some other refinement specialty that they want. And some of the facilities we have are top notch. So, I mean, if parents knew about it, if they took a tour, I think that would go a long way to retaining some of the talent around here, because I was very impressed. It's like state of the art.
I think years
You
ago
guys
we
offer
offered
that,
it,
right?
and a lot of people
I
didn't.
think
We should do it again.
And sometimes the best ideas are the simplest ones, and it takes different people, in the room to come up with them. A simple, I don't know if it was Joanne or.
I think it was Dr. Kalor who
Maybe Dr.
suggested
Kalor said
showing
earlier, right? Like getting them.
That's what
Yeah,
I was
like
going to bring up.
showcasing it to
Because
parents.
I mentioned
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
you said you're following up. Open
Right.
house for their parents
Yeah.
and students in 7th grade rather than
We
just
should let them know
yes.
early
Yeah, I think
enough
we talked
before
about
they
that.
submit applications to
So
these magnet
several
schools.
years ago.
They do it earlier now.
Right,
but
so
'cause-
several years ago, they only did it in the spring or like early winter of 8th grade.
Which
And
was too
I
late.
brought up, it's too late, they're already getting they've already taken entrance exams
Right.
and they're getting responses and they're at to like their high-tech
Yes.
highs or their whatever. So now, for a couple of years now, we're doing it in the fall, so we're
Yeah.
doing it in October for the last several years. But yeah, like putting it now
Yeah.
in spring of 7th grade
Agreed.
makes, why not?
Do
Start
too.
it even early.
Because that process does start way earlier than you would imagine, between all the prep, all the testing, before
So,
even the application.
There's an informal idea, sorry, there's an informal something that I've been told, that we have a lot of move-ins that happen in middle school year, specifically because they want to go to our VOTEX and they know that they get the highest number from our schools. So, like, literally, I don't know if that's true, but that is what I was kind of.
I've heard that.
That's what I've heard.
I don't know
Yeah.
where they're finding a house.
Although I will note that there were 20 less, as we found out.
But actually, after that tour, I feel if anybody came to our open house, there's no reason for them. They would not even want to apply anywhere else.
And that's coming
Unless
from
they
a high-tech mom.
specifically-
You're a
yes,
high-tech mom.
Yes, unless they specifically want that school for that, for a certain
I was going to say, because I think we've
passion.
talked about this for the past couple of years,
That was
too.
one,
And
it's been our goal
yeah.
for years to
Yeah.
keep, what ways can we do to.
Just do it
the magnet
earlier.
schools and the Catholic schools or whatever.
Yep.
Some you're not going to stop, but we knew the referendum was one big piece that could help move the needle the other way a little bit. But
So
I think
just from-
just keep opening.
Sorry, go ahead.
tours. No, go.
And just from personal experience, because we also did look into it, and we took the tour at Communications, and it was early on, right? And I remember being like floored by all of their facilities and everything, and then I was like, oh, that'd be great if we had something like that. Lo and behold, with your tour, I was like, we do have something like that. So, I mean, as a parent who's lived here since 2016, if we don't show them what we have, they're going to look elsewhere. The grass is greener because we don't have it, but we do have it. So I think if we showcase it sooner, I think we retain a lot more.
Also, I have a friend that came here for our Twilight meet, like with her son. So her son actually, they're from Freehold, but they go to CBA. And so they were here for a Twilight meet. So they had never been, as a freshman mom, she had never been to our facility here, just athletics field. And she was like, wow, like how awesome our athletics. So, it's not just internal, it's external, and just talked about our complex and how beautiful our complex really is.
You can literally argue it's probably one of the nicest in the state from the inside and outside. I mean, obviously, this media center was not like this years ago, so it's...
So, Dr. Cascone, just from a timing standpoint, right, would it make sense after 6th grade or at the end of the year, or when would it make sense to put something front and center so parents know that there's this open house, we can take a look? It's however it would be executed. What would it look like? And I would want to make sure that is. Some communications are lost. We know that.
I think
How do we
spring
make
of-
sure
yeah.
everybody knows about it?
I think spring we've had great turnouts for the 8th grade open house. So it's definitely, of course sometimes we have trouble getting folks to come out, but that's an event where we really have never had. We have a great turnout for that event every year. I think we do another one in the spring of 7th grade because I think it's ahead of the curve to some extent because I really think and they're considering it at that point. I think they start to think about it, but I don't think it's really between that spring and then the fall when I think they really make up their mind whether they want to apply. So I think it's a perfect time to do it, actually. And then we'll do another one in the fall of the 8th grade year. So yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. I also have a promotional video idea in the can as well to release as well. So
Yeah,
I think
that's kind of what I was just thinking. Is like, what if we broadcasted, in the homerooms of Indian Hill and Village at certain times, and just talk about the high school and different facilities and different programs that they have to start getting these kids excited. Then they go home and start talking to their parents about it, and then the parents start saying, "Oh, well, you know what? Maybe we never considered this," and go take a look, see what's going on. But get the kids more motivated to want to stay at our school district than leave, because they're excited to.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've sort of reconciled the fact that we're going to lose kids, right? Because I think a couple of reasons. I think one, the allure of literally like the best high school in the country, like literally like the #1 high school in the country, like that's a tough allure there, right? But I think also some kids are just. The argument the pitch I make to parents when I speak at the open house is, the experience you're going to get at home, you're going to get as rigorous and as high quality an education here, and you want to go to an Ivy, if that's what you want to do, this school can be a vehicle for you to go to an Ivy. But what you're going to get here is you're getting an experience that is more reflective of a real world experience. You're going to be interacting with different types of students, working with different types of students. You're going to have a wider variety of experiences and go out into post-secondary life, I would argue, better prepared for the real world. But some kids, whether they just want to change the scenery, they actually want to be surrounded only by kids who are kind of like them. Some kids want that, So I think the number that we lost this year, I think it was, I want to say it was like high teens, down from like 35. To me, that's a fair number. Like if we can keep it under 20, I think that's a reasonable number. 35, I was like, that was not what we want, right? That's more than 10% of your class going. But some great ideas emerged, I think, from that tour.
Well, and you also had a great idea about, hey, you know what if we had the students who are enthusiastic and talented, they actually create the product that showcases and that you blast out. And so not only does that save us some time in, taxing the teacher schedules, but also I remember with these tours, and like the reason why these places do these tours, these open houses, is to lure people in the door. And I will say that the students that they have participating and showcasing, they are impressive. They are self-assured, they're passionate, they're well-spoken. When you want your kids to be that kids, you're like, wow, they need to come here. So if we have that and we can showcase it through our own student body, I think that's like the biggest testament, the biggest testimony.
100%. I've had this idea sort of germinating for a couple of years, to put out solicitation of public relations interns, like students, probably seniors, who are interested in going into PR or marketing, and having be kind of like a student PR team that kind of I work with, that puts out pieces, whether it's articles, whether it's videos. I think it's a great opportunity for them, and we get out a lot of good content. So, and that's also something that could be considered as a goal as well, whether it's revenue or it's PR. I just wanted to say one thing about the presentations. I think that's a great idea, athletics, what have you, and maybe it's something we can talk about at the retreat. Is I think if we can create sort of a schedule, a calendar, if you will, over the course of the year of like at this meeting we're going to present on this. So if we have that in advance, then we can prepare the team and whoever's responsible for that to bring that forward. I will say that the cows are good for those type of presentations because you obviously can't do them at subcommittee meetings, and then if you do them at a regular meeting, those meetings tend to run pretty long. Not saying that we don't want to do it because of that, but I think it's something to consider. And I was going to make a comment also just in terms of the retreat and thinking about next year. I think in terms of kind of working through the committee structure, right? Like what are our operating procedures going to be next year, right? That we've talked a little bit about, like, is the hybrid working? Is it not? It's one or the other, right? Because I think that has contributed to, at times, sort of a disjointed flow of information, as well as things sort of coming on the radar and then there's lapses, right? So I think these are all good topics that we can beat up, at the retreat and go into next year really organized with goals, but also how we're going to operate.
Thank you, sir. We have to backtrack for 1 second. I'm going to need a motion for item 113. This was the playground. So, we need a motion as amended to approve it. Motion. So, can we get a motion? Second?
Second? I don't know. But
I thought we did it already.
We voted to amend it, and now is the motion to approve the amended version of the resolution.
okay, so motion to approve the amended motion
Right.
number 113. Okay, I motion.
You got a second? There you go. Do we need a roll call? We'll do right.
Mr. Reddy?
Yes.
Mrs. DeSillo?
Yes.
Dr. Moore? Yes. Mr. Levechi?
Yes.
Mrs. LaPercy?
Yes.
Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Ms. Lamb?
Yes.
Mr. Manning?
Yes.
Okay, so are we still on old business? Are you good?
No, not yet.
No, we're not on old business still?
Sort of new business, old business. Well, you got old business?
Yeah.
Wait, so are you looking to move to new business? That's what you're saying?
I don't know. No, I want to stay on old business.
Oh. Go.
So where are we?
Old business. We didn't
Old
move.
business.
Yeah, we're still there.
Okay, so I want to continue our conversation on the, on test returning. And based on kind of conversations over the past week, what I'm suggesting, and we can discuss it, is that we have our new CNI director starting July 1. I'd like to, she is in herself coming out of a very high-performing district. So I'd like to start with having a conversation with her as far as where she starts to, where she sees what our grading guidelines are and her thoughts on those. We don't have a grading policy that I would consider a grading policy. It is called something. Like when you look up grading, 8 policies come up. There's really one on that's called like student performance or something. And it really, it's really not, based on other research that I've done, it's really not a grading policy. Like it doesn't really talk about what I think it should. So, but not that it should be specific. I think that what I would like to see as far as policy, is looking at that, whatever it's called, and really making a grading policy. And under that grading policy, part of those things would be the weighting that we're, because like that's pretty normal to be on there. And I think a overarching, as talking with our attorney, some type of overall complement that talks about test returns as we can do it. So I don't know, I want to get everybody's thoughts on that, and then hopefully, if possibly, we could have a first reading on that in July, depending on how fast it can get moved with with a conversation with the new CNI director. But that's kind of where I see it heading. So thoughts and comments.
I concur with your statements, and it's meant to be a broad guideline, not to be onerous or, micromanaging or anything like that, just to have the spirit and the guideline to have more consistency so that it could be enforced by the administration, not by the board, just a matter of it's something that needs to be more consistent and better enforced.
This won't replace any feedback that we're currently employing for the students, right? This is just going to, if it gets approved, it'll supplement the current
We're
process.
looking for it to enhance it, I think, if that's.
Right, well, you mean the reflection practices would, that's still, it should, right? I don't know.
Yeah, so, I think if we're looking at this sort of mile high, right, 30,000-foot view in terms of what the board expects, and really, I think what the administration expects and what is best practices in educational research is that students have meaningful opportunities for feedback. They can see their errors, they understand their errors, and the returning of a test is arguably one of any number of different things practices that could be used to do that, right? So I understand that there are members of the board who want to take that extra step with respect to codifying, the return of tests in some way with some discretion to the administration. But I think really what you want, and I think what our parents want and our students want, is that there are meaningful opportunities for them to review tests, to understand what they did wrong, right? And yes, no, it's not going to stop our efforts to improve the manner, the consistency with which we are providing feedback to students on major assessments. That has to continue regardless.
Because some of the students, the feedback, they need it in a different way, right? It's going to be more effective than just getting the test back.
Right, because I think we recognize that if, like, in the absence of feedback procedures and practices, if we were to say we're just going to give tests back, we know that in of itself is not effective.
Right. No, not in an absence of meaningful review. That was always the underlying assumption.
Right.
But support the return of tests from K through 12, the tests that can be returned, because Kim did mention that there's certain things, link it, whatever the ones that cannot be.
Well, you physically can't return anything digital, right?
Well, that makes sense.
And then
so
we have
obviously
some
those-
standardized testing and stuff that's
So
proprietary.
that's not what we're
and-
addressing,
yeah.
but to the extent whether it's essays, whether it's, but I mean, we're not trying to be deliberately overstepping here. This is just a matter of any test that can be reviewed, and to address the issues of cheating. I think Dr. Kalor mentioned, why can't we just do it, return them not at all, not 2 months later, 2 weeks later after any absenteeism happens and, multiple rounds of tests can be taken. If we wait 2 weeks until everyone's taken them and then you return them, that sidesteps a lot of the issues about cheating and absenteeism.
And then something else that came up in a conversation with someone about this particular topic, had a thought, right? And this is us, right? You have conversations, and like you had said yesterday, not yesterday, but last week, you said, Dr. Casco, and why can't we just pick, and maybe it's not 2 weeks, maybe it's 3 weeks, like whatever, right? That
That's
they
just
get
an
returned,
example,
right?
yeah.
And you were like, we haven't thought about that, right? So somebody else, so today I was having a conversation with someone about this, and I will say wholeheartedly, every single person I speak to says, return all the tests. anyone that I speak about it, that is what the community in my, really does feel. And, but their thought was, they asked, what is the administrative reasoning behind it, right? And so I discussed the chronic absenteeism, the cheating. So they go, well, here's how you address that. And this is their out of the box. And I was like, this isn't that out of the box. There's a second version, which we already know people are doing, but it's harder. Less multiple choice with more open answer questions. It's, so you're going to, and if people know that going in, hey, you can sit for option 2.
That's
gonna want the
effective.
easier-
That's going to be effective.
So
I like that.
we're going to make
You're
it.
going to punish the kid that's legitimately sick? I'm just saying, devil's advocate, right? That's not fair. Kid's legitimately sick. Now he's going to get punished because he picked up bronchitis from the kid on the bus that was giving him snot rockets.
Well, objectively, right?
You know what I
Instead
mean?
of it is a secondary test. I mean, it's not
but to make it more-
it's not unheard of.
If you made it more difficult, that's just not fair. That's not equitable. That's
The
you're
drop
being
schedules
penalized because
made
you got
sense
sick.
too, right?
I don't know.
I
I
think-
think it is if it's all the same topics.
I think this is.
But not if it's harder. That's not equitable.
Yeah, so I would implore that our administrative staff and our educators go and dig into these things, present to us.
Oh,
we can
right,
talk-
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
this was just
because I
somebody
feel
from
like
the-
knowing us, we're
somebody
going to
from the
go around
community.
and round on this, and
Yeah.
we shouldn't be doing it.
But this was somebody from the community
Yeah.
that is a high school teacher, that is a high school teacher, and that this was their, it's all the same content. This is a biology teacher saying this to me. Same content that's being covered, so it's unit 3, whatever, right? But difficult in their sense was the type of questions where you're not, maybe it's not
It's a different muscle you're using to answer the question, right?
correct.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of really a nice thought, right? Like, because, and it's one thing if, somebody, that they're out, but, and you're out, but it's another thing where we have said there's documentation at this point of this chronic absenteeism. However, I'm curious, this was also part of the conversation so we've done a year of this no return policy. Did that help anything with this chronic absenteeism on the day of tests?
Good question.
So we had said that that's what it was, so we implemented this over the past year. Has it been reduced over this year?
question.
Fair question. So, right, because maybe it didn't do anything anyway. Because honestly, and as having 2 this year in high school, whether or not there was test return or not, students are still gathering the intel from other students. So what was the heavy topic on that test, right? Like they're still doing it, whether it was returned or not. So
I'm really interested to see what the cell phone policy is going to do with all this too, because I'm hearing that it's also instantaneous cheating, right? I'm taking
Yes.
a test, I am taking a photo, I am putting it on a WhatsApp chat, I'm sending it to 100 of my friends, right? Like
Or
that's-
chat
or whatever,
GPTing.
or putting in
Yes.
chat GPT,
I've
getting
heard it too.
answers. Like to me, that's the concern about cheating. It's not
That's even worse than
sharing-
returning
It is,
the test.
it is, right? But I'm just saying it'll be really interesting with the cell phone policy too, right? Because hopefully that'll help some of that.
And the reason I asked my initial question about are we going to keep intact the current feedback is because I didn't know. You said it was assumed that it was, but I don't assume anything.
Wait, what
I
feedback?
agree, because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we're conflating different things, because in my estimation, I'm operating under the guise of we're continuing the practice that was presented last week. So K to 8 is returned, 6, 7, and 8 with discretion or some exceptions.
So they're gonna have
So that's
to-
what I'm,
they're gonna
because
have
I
to
think
come
I'm
back again,
hearing two
right?
different
Yeah.
things.
I would like to have the conversation with the new CNI director.
And that's
then
fine.
from that,
I agree.
start to recommend a policy based on that conversation with her and in conjunction with Dr. Cascone.
And the
right?
presentation that was made last
What if
week.
she comes back and says, no, I totally disagree with you. I don't think we should have a policy. I'm just saying, she might say this. We have no idea. I mean, and
Well,
again.
either way, we need an updated grading policy.
I think regardless, I'm on board with the whole consistency thing and
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
consistency and enforcement of consistency and all of that stuff. But I'm not an educational expert. That's why these people are up here, like Dr. C and his team. So I'm trusting that what their research says. And
Yeah, I want to just bring up the same point that I brought up inside, which is meant to be brought up outside, that we were talking about consistency, and we also said that board should, generally teachers should be given the discretion to do what is right. And in the past, at least, teachers who thought that returning tests was good for whatever reason were returning the tests and or assignments, or maybe the parents asked for it or they thought it was better. But in the name of consistency, now we're telling them not to return the test. And if they do feel that it is better to return the test, now their hands are tied and they won't be able to return the test. So I know that's an admin policy, it's not a board policy, but how do we reconcile the conflict there?
Yeah, I don't think there's any reconciling inconsistency, right? So, I think, the inequity that existed before because of the inconsistency was irreconcilable, right? Some kids had the benefit and some didn't. Now, with a strict test return policy and the inconsistency in the time allocated to reviewing tests, whether they're being reviewed, the timeliness of the review, the fidelity with which the reflection practices have been implemented, it's really just a different form of inequity, quite frankly. I have a procedural question, Kyle. Is it absolutely obligatory to do 2 readings? Or could a draft of the policy be disseminated amongst the board, say, for example, through email, with an opportunity for board members to provide feedback, and then with basically the adoption happening at one meeting?
You would need 2 readings for a policy, any new policy. Yeah.
Okay, okay. But this isn't a new policy necessarily.
Any substantive change.
Okay, all right. Just thought I'd ask.
Is it possible that we could change it at a cow? What do we have in
Yes,
August?
you've advertised.
So we have cow in August, so feasibly.
No, I'm sorry. We have subcommittees in August.
Okay, but we.
Although you call your meeting a cow, any meeting you have basically has been advertised as having potential action being taken. The
Okay.
other option would be a special meeting with the advertised topic. You could get around one of the readings that way if it became time crunch.
My thing was, right, a lot of these specifics that we're drilling down on are really and I had shared it because I didn't know if you guys had it, Brittany and Joanne. I had shared the grading guidelines that's up on the website. So I literally just shared that with you. Feasibly, anything that we know, let's say we only have a first reading in August, right? But it's broader. But meanwhile, the grading guidelines that are not our policy are updated via Dr. Cascone. Those can be in effect.
Correct.
Because technically, right, so they can happen concurrently.
Right. There is a mechanism for emergencies, but I don't think this qualifies.
No,
Emergencies are
right.
only a scenario where you can do a single reading. But you're absolutely right. The policy, as I understand it, and I think it's being envisioned, and maybe it doesn't reference test return specifically as this more broad discussion about feedback being provided, and this is one example of that, obviously. But that is only going to be the 1,000-mile look down, and the actual implementation of whatever is being utilized next year, whether it's prohibiting tests from being returned or requiring tests to be returned or whatever it is still going to be at the administrative level, I think, as it's being envisioned. So there's nothing that would prohibit that moving forward, even if the process of the actual policy is still in the works moving into the start of the school year.
Yeah.
I have another question with the same topic. So it seems like the problem with returning tests is, on one hand, there's this potential for cheating and so on. That's one area. And the other thing is that if it's not consistent, that some teachers are giving it home and some are not. And so once it's been given for the students to take it home, the teacher is not actually reflecting on it with the student. So in this case, the inequity, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just restating it. So the inequity is that the teacher who's sending the test home is not reflecting, and the teacher, who didn't send the test home is actually reflecting. So that seems to be, in that case, can we say, hopefully 2 weeks or 3 weeks in order to get over the cheating problem? And then can we say only when the parent requests for it, then they send it, and in that case they don't reflect on it with the student, and it's a choice that they make Or they reflect on a student if the student wants to, if says, I still want to. So will that take care of the second inequity that not everybody, like, some parents said, Kim and Pete, that they don't, they'd rather not discuss it with the kids, certain subjects, that, and they'd rather the teacher do. So can we separate it like that when the parent asks for it, then you do it?
Well, I mean, I think that I'd like to just, clarify for the record, and really in some defense of our faculty, that I do think that it is very, very rare that there isn't some degree of pause when a test's given and return and is graded, that there isn't an opportunity whereby the teacher, the faculty member goes over the test and says, these are the mistakes I saw, so and so. I think it's a fairly standard practice, right? But the question is what is the efficacy of that practice, right? Do we have standardized guidelines for what that looks like, right? And that's really what we put in place this year, and with some, not complete success with regard to the consistency. I mean, I think what I heard from parents, and I get this, is, kind of putting it on the parent, right, to reach out and request it. But I do think that all of these questions, and they're good questions, right? And they're questions that are all part of the iterative process of developing a policy, if that's what ultimately is decided to do. They're good questions. One thing you may want to consider, because I think on some level we find ourselves again in that conundrum of the timeline, right? We're up against a constricted timeline, right? And we're kind of forcing ourselves into making a decision perhaps prematurely without having, for one, the C&I director an opportunity to weigh in, additional questions and feedback. One possibility, and it's something we can revisit at the July retreat, is would we consider converting from subcommittees in August to a committee of the whole in August? A little bit of the tail wagging the dog, but that would give us that other public meeting where we could take action, and it gives us quite a bit of runway, both to have the conversations and then ultimately, if the decision is to do a policy, to develop.
I'm for that.
Okay.
Do we have to make a motion to do that?
So everybody, are we okay with moving to a cow so that we can have a first and second reading of some type of grading policy? It gives us the extra time.
In August.
In August.
yeah.
We're, instead of subcommittees for August, we would move
Approved,
to
yeah.
one cow.
Yes. Agree.
Done.
Done.
So Deb, so Kyle.
So we have to
Do we have to make a motion
advertise
for
for
that,
that.
or-
So do we modify the board meeting calendar now? We can do it in July as well,
Yeah,
right?
So frankly, the board president can call the meeting on his own, so he could convert it. Right now, it's just basically an empty week.
Yeah.
There's nothing that requires you to meet as a committee structure, so if the board majority wants to vote on it, that would affect it, or the board president could, call a meeting on his own, so long as we notify the public at least 48 hours in advance. Obviously, we know now, so I don't see any reason to delay. Anyone that's listening
Great.
would know, so pick a day and move forward
Well,
with
it's
it.
the Wednesday.
August 19th would be that
So, and
day.
also with, everyone trying to be pretty thorough on this topic, I felt like we got very granular and trying to talk about 100 different contingency scenarios, which I think kind of overcomplicates the issue. The whole intent and the reason to talk about it to begin with was really just so, this practice was more consistent, better enforced, so the kids have the test to study back or to refer back on to review. It was always meant to have meaningful reflection with the teachers. It's not one or the other. And, obviously we want to address the cheating and also, any onerous efforts or, too burdensome on the teachers. I mean, those are really the biggest issues. And if we're talking about implementing a pretty broad policy, so we're not overstepping, micromanaging, all the words to make sure that we're not out of bounds over here. No one's trying to step into Dr. Cascone's shoes to run the district. But from this standpoint, if we're talking about just a good faith effort of, trying to have this resource available to the kids where we know it's a benefit, right? No one's saying just give it back and let them figure it out on their own, but, and if the policy is that broad and it is at the discretion of the district, AKA Dr. Cascone and his team to enforce it, we're obviously assuming that there's good faith that you will be implementing it per the spirit that we're trying to say, versus it's so broad and it's kind of like, we're not going to be overseeing it. You are. So, I mean, I feel like we really went.
I guess
we
the
went
issue
really
here is
far,
that we
yeah.
really don't know what the actual implications are, either yes or no, and that's why we should probably defer to a professional as the CNI director coming in and being able to say, what is your take on this and what is your recommendation to move forward? If you think that we should make that switch, okay, then we should discuss and do it, and if not, then leave it as it is.
Well, I think it should come down to one person.
Is that not?
I think what she'll do is,
that's, I think, what it's supposed to be, right?
I think what she'll do is she'll have insight, right? And I think, right, because, you know, when the decision at hand is the extent to which, a board policy is going to be promulgated, right? So at the end of the day, the board will ultimately decide through, whether it's a straw poll vote or show of hands in public, like, yes, we want to do this. Really, she's going to provide insight, I would argue, to inform the decision of whether you want to do that, and if you do want to do it, what that'll look like, what it shouldn't look like. It will be, in that respect, she would be providing counsel, right? Versus when she's operating internally, she has the jurisdiction to provide directive, right? She can't direct the board. The board's considering a policy. All she can do is provide her professional expertise and counsel as to what she would be recommending, what she would recommend.
See, I think I'm getting confused because to me, consistency doesn't mean returning tests. But Joanne, I'm getting the impression based on comments that that's what your consistency means. But I don't equate them to, I see it as like a consistent practice of, like the presentation from last week, and making sure it's enforced and it's consistent and they're across grades and teachers and such. But I'm interpreting some of your comments to equate that, marry the two.
I think it's because the consistency of the reflection papers is not actually happening, so just give the tests back because there's no adverse consequences. So that's how
Correct.
I understand.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there.
So I'm for consistency, but not necessarily.
So if we are, let's just say in an ideal world, it's not ideal, honestly. It's really what we're striving to accomplish, where in every class, every teacher, every major assessment, there was a super robust, process, in the classroom where students saw the test, they were going over it, they were analyzing mistakes, right? There still are two things, and just listening to feedback from our constituents, there are two things that will never accomplish insofar as we think there's value to them, which I heard. One is that becomes sort of an artifact, right, that the student keeps in their binder, and then when they're preparing for a comprehensive exam, they can go back through old tests, and and the second is that obviously if parents are inclined and want to review that test with their students and assist them as well, that can't happen as well. So there are still things that can't happen, but we're not in that ideal. I'll call it an ideal. We're not even there. Like that was the end game this year, but that didn't happen, right? So I just figured I would clarify that there still is some value to them going home that we can't replicate in the classroom, even if we were doing it to a T, which we're not.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Howard, I thought we might see him, is this the last meeting, or is he coming to the next one?
Yeah, thank you. So
no.
he has, I have him on one more mission. He's coming into school tomorrow on a mission for me, something he's doing.
Okay.
But that's it.
He's ghost.
Man.
Yeah, so thank you for mentioning that. We've celebrated him on a number of ways, and internally. But yes, this is Mr. Howard's last week in the district.
Presentation was it.
Yeah.
You go to Robbinsville.
Yeah, exactly.
Board meeting. You can be
Go heckle
in the
him at his board
audience.
meeting. Yeah, I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Thank you, though, for mentioning that, Ray.
You got any new business? I have a couple of things, but anyone?
Wait, so that means we're done with old, or we circle back?
Do you have something more new?
I do, and this is a circle back, right? So we've spoken extensively about this, Dr. Cascone, I know we've talked about it in meetings also, but as far as overall streamlining, because we mentioned that could be a board goal, that was also going to be discussed at the board retreat, and then obviously there's a timeline that would need to be kind of in place, or at least get the ball rolling if we are looking to have some improvements, enhancements implemented by the upcoming school year. So as far as further streamlining communication channels, and I know that we were talking about, hey, what procedurally would that look like? It would be a survey to the community, right? And what do you use? What do you not use? What do you, and then just as far as to improve consistency, accessibility, and information tracking, establish, and we talked about this. So maybe we can go back to basics. We're not talking about dumping all the technology. No one's talking about turning it on its head. We are looking to streamline not only for functionality, but also for cost. But I said, hey, I'm no tech wizard. I've regularly raised my hand. I am not the one. But I did say, why can't we go back to basics and use the Holmdel School District website as the one-stop shop where it's like, hey, by school, and have live link drill downs, right? If I'm using the right terminology, right? By school, by grade, and then everything is just kind of like a drill down that's user-friendly, where you can have direct links to relevant information for each grade, services, associated platforms where applicable. So it's kind of like you don't have to remember any of the platforms or apps that we still want to keep or enhance or optimize. Let's say whatever that checklist looks like, who the usual suspects are going to be on there. And if we're saying, hey, for field trips, and you click on a 7th grade field trip in this, and then it'll go to the actual platform that's a link to it, where it's kind of like you don't have to figure out, like, where is everything, like, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be, let's figure it out. And then, when we take a look at the apps, whatever we're out of contract, if there's overlap across some other ones, let's shrink it. I'm sure there's some cost savings there as well, material or not, right?
So, I mean, I think that this is really top of the agenda. We'll meet in our first weekly administrative roundtable on July 8th, and the communication piece is really at the top of the list. And you're right. I think there are a couple of things. First of all, we have to sift through the data and really look at what our constituents are saying, what the pain points are. That'll obviously help inform our approach. Something I said to one of the administrators today, I think less is more, right? I think that's one takeaway, is that there's just too much just flowing, and it's just all flowing in one mass, right? There's distinguishing between the, sort of the nice thing about, a student that did an amazing thing, and, the flyer about a program in the community, right?
Yeah.
And wedged in that same newsletter is a really important communication about report cards or something like that. So I think one is like, I think what happened was, I don't want to digress too much here, is I think we're seeing sort of the end game of an approach where it's like, our parents want information, right? And then we want to show them all the great things we're doing.
It was a
right?
fire hydrant.
It's too much, right? Let's really be more discretionary and selective about the kinds of things that we want our parents to put eyes on. Let's classify that for them through the platform in a way like, this is something you really need to pay attention to. But then
like
the other
action,
piece,
you can have like an
exactly.
action, and
But then the other piece, and you and I talked about this, and I think it's a great idea, is that on every school website there's a really prominent tab where you go there, and every communication that the principal or the school has put out is there.
Is in there in chronological order, and you can always go back. You don't have to dig. Which channel did I see this? How do I find it? So the one other thing that I forgot to mention in here was, I did say organize content by school, then grade level, including events, special schedules, lunch information, field trip payments, and other school
It would all be
resources
subfolders.
with all the subfolders,
Yep.
and you could always just drill down, and it's an easy way to find it. And even if whatever number of apps we end up keeping, it will be in there. Okay, you didn't pay for the 8th grade field trip. It's in here, and there's a link to it. So you'll remember what your logins are, but you don't have to remember where you do it. And especially for parents with kids in different grades in different schools,
Yes.
because right now I was told that some field trips you can pay online, and in Village you can't. It's still a
Right.
paper thing. And then,
Right.
and paying for
So-
lunch.
I can tell you, because I personally went through this exercise in my own business recently, and quite frankly, with AI, we could probably get rid of many of the apps we currently have and actually host it ourselves and do everything that we're talking about right now with our own actual AI that we own from the school perspective, right? And have that developed for us and probably cost less than what it costs us to have all of these different vendors
Yeah, that
and
would
apps.
be amazing. Yeah.
It's a big task and undertaking, but it can be done. It
And
really
we have
can.
good people, right? And even while we're setting it up, we just have like consultants or whatever resources we need, and it's kind of like an enhancement or an ongoing maintenance type of thing versus have however many subscriptions. I'm not criticizing the number, I don't know. I'm just saying that it can look better than this, right? So,
I think as long as the summer may seem, it goes quick, right? So, my thought for September, I don't want to call it triage, but I think it's a matter of improving how we're utilizing the current things. But then maybe that becomes a district goal over the course of the year is really doing an efficiency study and a consolidation study and maybe looking.
Well, I personally think
But I mean, in
that-
terms of dropping apps at this point in time, like, I'll give you an example. So, sorry.
yeah, but if
Anthony.
we're out of contract,
Yeah.
wouldn't we look at it before we auto re-up, right? So those ones we would definitely look at.
Well, what I'm saying is that, so let's a couple of examples. So, you have School Pass, right? And School Pass is the one that's used in the schools, right?
Let people in, right?
Yeah, and that's really more of a student facing. It's for basically ensuring we know where kids are in the building and how long they're.
Well,
Now-
it's where we report absences.
Oh, that one, yeah, where
It's
you-
where
where
we
you sign in
report,
and
we tell them if your student's leaving early or they're absent.
Through
at the
School
high
Pass?
school.
Wait, there's
Yes.
School Pass and
But
there's
not every
Smart
school
Pass.
uses it.
Oh, Smart Pass, I'm sorry, Smart
There's
Pass.
two, Smart Pass
Yeah.
and School
Side note,
Pass.
the School Pass, every school should be using it.
Right.
Versus,
You don't call Linda Billy anymore.
like,
We're back in the day.
it's
Right.
crazy that not every school uses it.
So I
We
guess
have
what-
it, but not everyone uses it.
Right, so there's a consistency piece there, but there's also like if we remove some, like every app, I know there is a myriad of apps, but every app has an operational purpose, right? So if we said we're not using School Pass anymore, then we'd go back to people calling the offices, right? Again, every app was put in place, maybe ironically, to improve operational efficiency. And in some ways, it has improved operational efficiency, but it's made life more difficult for parents because of the number of things they have to keep track of. So if we remove an app, I can tell you that if there's redundancies, and I think this is really this year, and this is more in the tech balance realm, which is a whole other thing we're working on in the upcoming year, right? Is there redundancy in educational apps? Are there apps that are used for purposes that we could just as easily do analog, like with good old-fashioned interpersonal? I think there's actually more opportunities for eliminating redundancies or just pulling things away within the school setting, within the instructional setting, than there is on the operational setting. I think I mentioned this to you, Joanne, is that the K-12 ed tech world, and maybe it's like this in private, I don't know. It's very siloed, right? So there aren't companies necessarily that represent sort of a full suite of products where this company offers you 6 different solutions that do 6 different things, right? So
Not well anyway.
right. Well, and the only example, and I might have mentioned this to you, and it's really more internal, is Frontline. So Frontline is where we have our staff absenteeism software, we have our recruitment and hiring software, we have our IEP software, we have our staff evaluation software. So, but that's all internal, right? And that's consolidated a lot. But when you think about these more student and parent-facing applications, there is no one vendor that bundles under one umbrella. They're all a la carte, right?
No, understood.
Yeah.
But even in my remedial spreadsheet that I put together, even just from the apps that either community feedback, because I know none of them, I raise my hand, I'm terrible. But I'm saying even listing them all out and saying, tell me what you know it does. What do you use it for? So even across some of the apps, there was, and I color coded it, right? You've seen it. So there were definitely some colors that overlapped in multiple apps. And how can we, do we need each one of those apps now for whatever else it does for us? Is it absolutely necessary? I am not picking on one app or another. I'm completely agnostic. What I did see was some overlap, and is there a way to optimize certain apps that we know we want to keep and get rid of some other ones? And that's really what
Yeah, so I'm think, I just made a note. I mean, I know that Steve Lillevelt's been working on it. I think I do believe that's a document that we'll have prepared for the retreat. So at least that can be a deliverable where we can run through it and at least educate the board on it.
Didn't we have that last year?
So there's something
thought
through
we had
CNI
that
that was
Yes, we
started.
did.
Yes.
There was something started through CNI, and we actually reported on it that like almost $300,000 was saved in our budget from some of the educational-based stuff, I believe. I don't know, maybe it was a mixture, I don't know. But we did reduce almost $300,000.
Yes, because this was
worth
a topic of
technology.
conversation.
And a lot of it
last
was
year.
due to the implementation of
When it's
Parent
not.
Square.
So just
Yep.
to clarify,
CNI.
it was more, and Deb,
For the budget.
and Deb
The budget,
educated
Deb.
me on this. It wasn't as much cutting apps through savings. It was apps it was really how they were accounted for on line items. Right, but it was not a savings overall. But I think this is, and yes, that inventory that's presented will be both student-facing apps, teacher-used apps, if you will, but I think more importantly, because it's two different conversations, right? It's the cluttered landscape internally, hypothetically cluttered landscape internally, where there may be an overuse or a lack of, maybe there's not as much purpose to it. But then there's the other world of it, which is the ones that are out that our parents are using. So it's two slightly different conversations. The theme is the same, which is there redundancy? Is there things that can be eliminated? I think at a bare minimum, and obviously we'll bring it forth to the board to discuss, is like that kind of a document does not exist anywhere for the public. Like there's no place for the public to go and say, like, what is this? Why is it used? So here's the login page, right? Like, so that in of itself, just giving parents access to that, I think is a simple thing that would be very instructive and informative to parents.
That would be even something that like you could work with, not that anyone wants to do this, but like the PTOs, like, hey, these are our most 10 frequent whatever that we use, like at each school level that, could help with that. But like, I'm even thinking, but like, so again, I'm going to go to School Pass because I actually like School Pass to be able to put in the absences. It's so much more convenient. And the fact that we have 2 out of the 4 schools not using it is crazy to me, especially when we're reducing in some of those places clerical staff. Like, why are we why not have it at Village School where there's 800 students and we can make their life. No, School Pass for the absences, no. No, it's to report.
Yeah, so that's for checking out, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, but like, right, like, so to help out our clerical staff and their workload,
Yeah.
take that away from them now
100%.
at these younger levels.
Makes
So,
perfect sense.
Like, what do we have that should be across the board? Because when School Pass started, it was only high school, and then it took a whole nother year for SATs to get it, and now it's, so like, what do we even have as a resource that's been beneficial at this school that can now be rolled out to every school to help?
Agreed.
So it's like, there's so many different things involved with it, so.
100% agreed.
Well, I know you have the webmaster over there, and I know Allison and Anthony, I know this topic has come up before, because I know it came up even years prior to that, of how do we configure and set up the website, and, I mean, you could go 20 different ways. I mean, to satisfy everyone, good luck with that. Not simple.
Yeah.
And I was just looking, I've been, patrolling around.
Little things, like
there's-
making it, like, one of the things when it was first created, do you remember, I texted you, and I'm like, it was like, you hit an arrow to expand, right? So board, right, which is fine.
A drop-down
But then I go,
menu.
well, yeah, so yes, that's what it's called. So like, you hit a drop-down
Even I knew
menu.
that.
And I go, Dr. Cascone, can we make this alphabetical? Like, I'm, like, something that simple, but it wasn't done that way, right? It
right.
was like, you really had just cut, I'm like, can we just make this alphabetical?
Yeah, so I said if we had it by school.
And it was done, like,
and
with
then
it,
by grade, and then by topic, it could be alphabetical, and then within each of those subtopics have live links, and then it's all chronological.
Well, that's how you want it.
No, I'm not dictating how it's done.
I'm saying you see it one way, I see it one way. I might actually see it the same way. I'm very chronological, but other people may not. Because I remember when we did this, and Anthony, you were around because you were the webmaster. When we redesigned this website, there was
It's
a
new
whole
this year.
project and.
Right, through Parent Square.
Yeah,
It's
we've
new.
done it
This is-
multiple times, though.
yes.
That's the point.
Oh, 100%.
In
But
my
this
12 years
year's
up here,
new.
we've done it at least 4 times, I think. 5? Thank you, sir. Do you want to go for 6?
Yeah, and sometimes like subfolders get to be too much because then it's so archived that it's hard to
As
navigate,
part
but
of this
everyone's
new,
different.
the new website for this year, I remember sitting in the meeting and we were like, here are the old versions. And we
Yeah.
went through years worth of different versions. And I mean, but it's not about changing. I don't think what Ms. Lamb is talking about right now is not about changing what's currently there. It's adding something front and center that's easy
Right.
to be able to hit, saying these are our important things. for
Exactly.
school.
I've heard that from, Sarika and I aren't parents anymore in district, but I've heard parents complain about, I don't know if it was the prom or something. Oh my God, I can't find that one piece of
Right,
information. And it was critical, and yet I have 14,000 other things, and I'm just looking for the one
I'm
thing.
not trying to specify
so-
what it needs to look like. I'm just saying a lot of the pain points that come through, if we had some sort of, like in a book, a table of
repository,
contents
boom.
that literally just went, okay, obviously each big category is a school and then the grades, and then within each one of them is whatever topics are relevant to those grades. I think that makes it, anytime you don't know where to go, right back to the school
It's
district
logical,
website,
right.
and then, okay, that's the one-stop shopping, and you could find everything in there. That's it.
That makes a lot of sense. It just makes a lot of sense to me because, that's what we hear from parents is like finding things, right? So, and so just being able to direct them to that single link, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's just simple, but, and I think, again, it's a good sort of, not to say stopgap, because I think it could be good moving forward as well, but I think, obviously we can't completely transform our, our communication landscape and our app landscape with it. I mean, we might be able to tweak here and there, but I think we can definitely make more efficient and improve what we're currently doing. And then ask our parents how we're doing. Ask our families, like, how are we doing after a couple months? Like, is it better? Is it easier? Is it working out, right? So I think remember what Tim said, 3 to 5 goals, okay? I think the list is growing.
So what does the time frame look like if we were to roll out a survey? Because look, school just ended, but we just talked about, that's why I asked to speak with you. School just ended, but before we know it, school, it will be just beginning. So we have these couple months to put out a survey with people kind of checked out, on vacation, somewhat paying attention, to actually get meaningful feedback, to be able to review the feedback and actually see what meaningful change we can make, and then possibly to have any sort of improvement by the beginning of the school year. It's going to go fast.
Can we make suggestions to add to the agenda for the board retreat, and then, like, because there's a lot of stuff, because then we can dig into it, and then the greatest hits gets discussed.
Yeah, I mean, I think yes, I think it's a good idea. Just to kind of just to kind of more directly respond to Joanne's question. I think that we can, and I haven't looked at it. I'll be completely honest with you. I've not taken a dive into the Parent Square. But don't forget, we also have the strategic plan survey, which has space, and we actually got like 200 or 300 more responses this year than we did last year. We had 700 parents respond to the strategic plan survey, which was great, because I do think that's a statistically significant sample. So I do think we're going to get communication feedback. In terms of the apps, like which ones do you use, which ones do you don't, I mean, I think the reality of it is that we have put these apps in place for purposes, right? So I think first and foremost, and I just asked Dr. Lamoglu, because she's helping me keep track of all of our to-do items this summer and our agenda items for the administrative roundtable. I'm going to add this tech stack, item to the agenda for the 8th, because I think that I even have to even that, maybe to my discredit, I did not know that we were only using School Pass in 2 schools. So I think first and foremost, I need to make sure that my understanding is clear on all the things that we're using, where they're being used, why they're being used, and ask questions myself, I think, is a first step, and then go from there. Contemporaneous with looking at some of the feedback that we've gotten from our parents, and I do think I'll be in a better position to provide an update to the board. And, in looking at some of the feedback that I received through this, I heard what I saw was like more regular sort of substantive updates. So, because we're not going to meet again until the 22nd, right? But that's 2 weeks, and those are going to be a robust 2 weeks of planning. So I think it's important that, like, every week I'm providing you with an update. Here's kind of what we did at the roundtable. Here's where we are with these key items, so that I keep you up to date on what our planning that's going on. So, admittedly, I'm not in the best position, Joanne, right now to kind of give you that answer, but I'll be in a much better place to give you that answer once we've had an opportunity to meet with the team and go through some of that data.
No, I just wanted to make sure that it didn't fall off our agenda or that we got derailed
Oh,
with
no.
timeline, because, I mean, it's something that's
Yeah.
important, that's going to go quick. I just want to have some framework and some timeline in place that we're cognizant
Yeah.
of, where it's not mid-August and we're like, oh my God, what happened to that project?
I think it's clear to me. I've received enough feedback from parents with respect to the pain points on communication that we can't go into next school year without having made some qualitative improvements to how we do it. We have to. Can't go through another year the way we did this year.
Agreed, thank
Yep.
you.
Good deal. I got 3 easy, quick, old business stuff. So energy study, we approved it last week. Deb, I'm not pushing you at all, just curious, what is the next step and what would be, have we been in contact with them? They got to get a
No,
PO, all that good
I have to
stuff.
return the contract that we just approved.
Today was the approval.
Oh, duh, thank you, good, okay.
So
Like,
then,
scratch
yes,
that,
then that's
excellent,
PO,
excellent. Move on. Bus signups, I know last week you said you had a big swell, do you know like a
So we
certain
have,
number?
we have
I'm just curious.
approximately, it's funny because I wrote that down to my own old business.
See, we're with you.
Approximately 175 applications, so of the 700 and, let's say, 15 that lost eligibility, that's about 25% that subscribed.
Here's an off-the-wall question a little bit for you. Say there's a parent in town that thinks they're within the window where they shouldn't be getting a bus, right? And I know we've reached out to as many parents we thought that were, were not eligible for courtesy busing. What if all of a sudden we find a parent, we missed it? Are they getting it because we didn't reach out to them, and all of a sudden we find out that they're within the 2 miles and they should be walking, or 2.5 miles? Like, what happens there? I'm just curious because it would seem to be they wouldn't have had the chance. Like, they didn't hear from the school. Then all of a sudden we find out, hey, their neighbor's not getting a bus. Oh, how are you not getting a bus? And they get narked on, or someone says you're within the 2.5 miles. I mean, what happens there? Do we know? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, it hasn't come up
Okay.
yet. It's more the other way, where we've kind of said to somebody, you're not eligible, and they've
Right.
contested the distance, and we've either, checked it, verified it, and either said, you're right, or we're right, and this
Right,
is
okay.
why.
All right.
We have people who have missed the deadline and have
Right.
reached out. I just was
you're
responding to
open-
somebody
yeah,
else.
letting 'em-
And said, you can put the application, if we could place you on a bus, we'll
Right.
request a
Okay.
deposit. So far, other than what I just sent out, we have placed everybody that has requested a space.
So you have like a wait list going?
Just the one that.
Just the one,
Just the
but-
one right now. Everybody
is-
that's come through
But
has
like-
been placed on a bus. So now, tomorrow is when all the routes have been developed, and the bids are going out within the next few days, due back
But
on July
somebody that
15th.
moved, like, summer is a typical move time, right? Like, that is.
There should
like-
be spaces reserved on.
So you have a few,
Yeah.
so anyone that happens to move in, we have a few
Yeah.
spaces open if they want for subscription
And
busing.
and if we have to otherwise create do another small bus route, if we have, 15, 20 kids that move in, we'll have to do that. Because that's going to be courtesy or non-courtesy, right? People who move in could be on either side of,
Right, no, I know, obviously for that, I just meant people outside of the radius of the courtesy busing, so, so I think it's great, we have left a few spots, that's good.
so then once we have all the bids back, we'll be able to determine the final cost and then bill everybody the difference, so.
A question for Scott when he comes back. We don't know how many new teachers we're going to have in August, do we? Like how many new employees, obviously. Amanda, you don't know that one, do you? Do you know how many new teachers, ballpark? I know it's a lot, not many.
It's going to be significantly less because we might have some TLRs, but we're probably looking at
Because I'm guessing you guys will end up doing the same stuff. Like you'll do the little new teacher boot camp for the couple of days, and
She said
bring
10,
them to the
15.
board meeting and all that. Okay. All right. And then, do you know if they conducted years? We talked about this for years, and we did it for a few years. Exit surveys of the seniors. Do we do that? Do you know? Okay. So I'm sure we'll get those results in the next couple of meetings with the raw results, because there's some real good value from that over the years. Okay. New business? Anyone? Only new business. I think Kim and I spoke about it. I guess as a board, we're probably going to need an e-bike policy, knowing that e-bikes were eliminated in the state of New Jersey in a certain way. Where
I think
Why would we need a policy if there's a law?
If it's illegal.
Because
Right.
because at 15, which is high
Oh, at
school.
15.
Oh.
So we have to discuss, do we want them on property? We can say no
We're saying
e-bikes,
we may need
period.
e-bike policy.
Right,
That was
that
new
we have,
business.
that we're not going to allow them, period. Or Dr. Cascone had said that we treat it like we do when students are driving, where they have to show proof of insurance, license. But
As you would if you were driving to school, right?
Right.
Correct.
You
You could just be cognizant of like the courtesy, because
good-
that could be their
good
mode
topic
of
for a retreat.
transportation.
It's already on
So-
our list. I added it, Dr. Lamoglia and I met today to flesh out our to-do lists and our items, and we added who, was it you that mentioned it, Kim?
I'm the one that brought it up.
Yeah, so it's right there with cell phone policy, so we'll do some research on that, and now that we have the 2 August meetings,
We'll be able to
any other
get
policies,
that,
including the
yeah.
cell phone policy, we have the month of August to do
But
those 2
like,
readings. so.
there was a lot of kids, it's not obviously illegal yet, but there were a lot of kids at the end of this school year riding their e-bikes to the complex, right?
But as a way to come to school or
Yes.
just to ride around?
No,
Oh.
like to come to school. And so I brought it up because obviously, right, there is a law coming into place, but then also because do we want them, right? Do we, are we going to allow the e-bikes? And what happens, I had a general, what if somebody rides an e-bike to Indian Hill and yeah, it's illegal, but they have it, so they're going to ride it. And then what? What do we, I don't know.
I don't think anybody in Indian Hill is of age to ride an e-bike.
They're not, but that
Or
doesn't
not, but what if
mean-
they happen? What if they did it anyway?
So that's my point, is like, what if they did it anyway? Because now with the cutting of courtesy busing, that's how the parent plans on getting them there.
But they can't because they wouldn't be of legal age to ride an e-bike.
Right, are we going to call the cops
Right.
on them and have them
That's my
arrested?
point.
Or are we going
Like,
to,
right,
so if
right?
it's
Like,
Just
that's
because
the
something
point.
is illegal doesn't mean people don't
I
do
mean,
it.
that would be like, hey, my kid's going to drive to Indian Hill now. It's the same difference, right? If you're doing that, then we need to
Agreed,
actually
we
put a
have
policy
people
together
in
for that.
society that
mean,
do
maybe.
things against the law, yeah.
Listen, you're supposed to wear a helmet with your bike
It's
if
almost
you're
like
under
when
17.
some people brought up the fact that, oh, my child is going to have to walk to school now 45 minutes in the dark, 3 miles, and they're
Uphill in
Indian,
the snow.
and they're in Village. I mean, I think there's a greater thought here is that are you actually going to let your third grader or second grader walk to school? I don't think so, right?
Right.
But
But it's
I
just-
see a lot
it's-
of e-bikes already, though, in that parking lot when I've dropped off for other sports, so it's definitely,
I
it's
know.
definitely
That's what I'm
common,
saying. So people are doing it now. I understand that the law takes effect I think it's
It's July
mid-July.
20th,
Yeah,
July
so it's
20th.
towards the end of July. I just want us to be prepared for what is that going to look like
Right.
next year.
And just so you know, I'm not against or whatever. I'm just kind of talking
No,
it out.
no,
and
no, I
I'm
know,
not
but
like,
I
no,
look
we
at it
shouldn't do
as-
that. I'm just saying,
you know what? I
trying
look
to
at
play
it-
devil's advocate in some ways.
Even riding a bike, like my kid rides his bike all the time, but he doesn't typically, like if he's around in the neighborhood, depending on where he's going, like he's not wearing a helmet. He's supposed to, under 17. Under 17, you're supposed to be wearing just a bicycle helmet, period, on a regular bike. And, he doesn't, so
You're a violator.
I'm a violator, right? So like sometimes the rules and you still, I know, but this is, my point is, I know that there's a law.
I don't.
And yet, I don't always, we're not always doing it. So I just want us to be prepared with
Yeah.
the policy for it, especially because at the high school, once they're 15, they are allowed.
I think just, obviously we have plenty of time for the summer, but obviously alerting the community of like, hey, what our e-bike, what the yeses and nos are for the kids.
Exactly.
And then also with cell phones. I mean, I guarantee that there are plenty of parents that have no idea the cell phone ban is coming into place in 8 weeks, along with the e-bikes. There's no doubt in my mind. There's plenty of parents that have no idea. And when it comes September, whatever the first day of school is, there's going to be an outcry like, oh my God, my kid can't go to school. Or so I think educating the community over the summer multiple times, because they're not going to listen, or I hopefully they listen. Just let them know. Hey,
You get to hear my melodic voice.
thank you. And then the only other two things I was going to say, prior to graduation, Dr. Cascone and I went last week. It was a great time. We did not see the hypnotist, but it's really they put on an outstanding job, so kudos to those people that did it. And then if anyone's looked at the website, congrats to Carlos and Matt and our web people. They already have the tossing of the caps already up there. Literally, it's on the, Kyle just asked me, he's like, that from last week? It's already on the website, so kudos to those people that you employ that do those things, so.
It's Carlos.
It's Carlos, so congrats to Carlos. Any other new business? If not, motion to adjourn, we will.
Executive.
Yeah, we will be going to,
Oh, no, but
Yes.
I do want to acknowledge, yeah, that's
Yes,
Frank.
thank you,
That's
sir.
Frank Dent. I took Frank in as an administrative intern, so he's going to be working, shadowing me this summer, and has the distinct pleasure of, and he's getting a lot of hours. He's knocking a bunch of hours off of these board meetings, so congratulations.
I believe you're
Frank.
getting your master's in, or educational leadership, right, of Montclair State? You're Mid-South? Mid-North, there you go. So that's awesome. Thanks for listening. So yes, we'll be going to an executive session. We will not be coming back here to conduct any business. Yes, so do I need to do a motion?
Motion to go
into
back to exec session. Right.
And a second? And all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Take care.